The topic is from stadium to screen, navigating sports marketing across connected TV. So I think it's a very interesting topic because what happened last week. That obviously is something which is there in everyone's mind for all of us. I think it was a great tournament and great viewership as well, right? I think obviously the entire nation and all the cricketing world was having their eyes on the event. So it clearly shows the more and more potential which this area is developing. I'm approaching this as something which, we can all learn from each other's knowledge base. So my first question to everyone is that, how do you look at sports marketing, right? And in that, how do you see connected TV emerging? If you can tell us more about your experiences. So maybe we can start with you, Harish.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. Over the years, if you see, right, live streaming has kind of picked up, it's gained solid traction. And more and more consumers are on the go, viewing content on the go. And at the same time, the technology itself is evolving. So platforms have started personalizing stuff basis user behavior. They've started personalizing. There are commentary feeds available, various languages, various angles in which you can watch the match, and it's been a great evolution over the last 6-7 years, I would say, and hopefully in the coming years you'll see more consumers latching onto it. Now, in the recent last week itself, you've seen concurrency rates have kind of gone up crazy, and it's only going to go up. Because it's touched only a portion of the overall internet audience in India.
So from the agency perspective, do you see specific verticals focusing on this more, and what kind of percentage of budgets are dedicated towards these? Some insights on that as well.
See, it purely depends upon what is it that the brand is focusing on, and certain brands are focusing more on CTV specifically. That's because they feel the entry cost is at a lower side as compared to your linear TV, and certain brands are doing a combination of both CTV and mobile. So it's kind of, it depends upon brand to brand and the objectives that they have in mind. So, and every vertical is looking at it in a very different manner.
So, Suyash, how do you see it? And also from an advertiser perspective, Atit, very, very sorry. So, Atit, how do you look at it? I think Baiju has been a big, focus brand on this genre. So, from that perspective, how do you look at it? What has been your experience? And really, how does it move the marketing needle for you? How do you measure it?
See, the category plays a very critical role, and the starting point to have such a big presence in sports in general, led by cricket and everything else, because our strong belief is that as a child you will learn some part in school. Lot of things you will not learn in school, and there is no better education than sports. And that's the reason the amount of, because you learn the soft skills, the hardship, the pain, the teamwork. Every day you will not be successful. You will lose some days. You have to still wake up in next day morning and work hard, and your passion, commitment, perseverance. All that thing cannot be taught with textbooks, can be taught in a physical format, which is nothing better than sports. So that's the reason sports played a very, very critical role in everything which we did and we continue doing. As far measurement and ROI is concerned, see, at the end of the day, what matters is that how many people are you reaching? And over here, it's the family which comes together. We know all the reasons why all advertisers put the type of money they put in, whether it is passion GRPs, one forum will say, some of us will talk about passion GRPs, some will say about family viewing, family time. The device is just a sort of an option, because you just started the conversation that he spoke about concurrency. It happened, now concurrency happened because it was a live streaming. Then today evening you see the concurrency. You're playing after 4 days. You're playing under 96 hours with the same two teams, different set of people will be playing a match at 8 o'clock today, you see. So if there is audience, brands will follow. If brands is following, money will come in, and then all measurement, everything will start coming into play.
So is this a major part of your marketing budgets? And
Yeah, it's a major part of the marketing budget. Sports will be the number one segment of your 100 rupees.
Rohan, same question, but more from
Yeah,
an agency
I'll
angle.
just give a agency. I mean, I completely agree with what Atit said, right? So one of the additional factors is, I think sports is one of those things which brings the nation together. So there is a lot of people who converge. Now, if you classically look at any of the ad platforms and say if you want to do a 3-month reach, what is the estimated reach that you can get? Imagine happening that over one finals. I mean, that's a big factor. And obviously, there will be many other factors that, I mean, you asked an interesting question also, right? You know, what do agencies do to plan for sports? It requires pushing our clients as well, because end of the day, you know, it's a lot of comparison. If you compare it just with CPMs, maybe it's on a higher side. But then, you know, that impact or the value that it can generate, and think of this value saying that, you know, if your brand is visible, maybe your digital health metrics like branded, searches, your direct organic traffic, your organic, app installs going up, it's a strong qualifier. But then the measurement has to be in complete sync. I personally believe, I mean, even as an agency, that, you know, anything that can bring people together, marquee property, and can guarantee a certain amount of reach within that segment, I think it works. And today, I mean, an Hotstar ad is different for different people. So there's a lot of personalization happening as well. So it definitely works, I mean, largely.
Piyush, from your angle in terms of, you know, you're focusing on certain premium consumers as well, right, from a brand perspective. And this could be a mass event, actually. So how does it work for you? You know, would be great to hear from you.
So the platforms have, necessarily because of the investments that the bigger players in the market have done, all the categories have done, as he rightly said, there has been fair bit of improvement in who you can target, where you can target. And to your surprise, I will say that even if VIP is a name with quite a lot of awareness, everybody knows what is VIP, but the category itself is around 12-13%. So we are majorly focused towards urban. And I think how sports connects to a luggage brand is the emotional crescendo that it offers. Traveling, everybody has, when they go to a travel, they loosen up their nerves, they have, so any kind of travel, it helps in building an emotion towards when you move from a certain place. And I think motion has that. And similarly, sports gives that perfect setting for a brand like a luggage brand or a travel brand, even for that matter. So travel and sports has always been there. And for us, the advent of CTV or even multiple layers of targeting has helped reach the right audiences. See, there is no metric today which can tell you, oh, this guy is going to just travel, unless it is a travel portal. So people leave small signals. It's very difficult to aggregate those signals and say, okay, these are frequent travelers, but we would never know when they're going to travel. So we use such occasions to incite that behavior of you should always travel, gather experiences. So it becomes a good platform for sports, and now because of CTV and multiple targeting, we are able to reach our right audiences.
So just to press further, like, have you taken the decision that probably connected TV is more affluent consumer, so I can use sports as a medium and just focus on connected TV and take away all the budget from the offline TV?
So actually, the black swan moment for luggage industry was the COVID lockdown. All of us don't say that anymore, but we are still reeling under the pressures of what has happened from then, because we came to a standstill. And since then, the channel which has grown the fastest is online sales. Okay, so it would be wise to say that why should we advertise on a platform which people think they are watching but end up just viewing the screen and utilizing their time on the second screen. We'll always be on the second screen. So I would not reveal the strategies, but I would say that somewhere there.
Right. Okay, thank you. Prateek, how does Google look at esports on connected TV?
So I won't comment on behalf of Google because it's very different things for different divisions, but just to kind of add on to what's already been said, I think the most amount of wisdom, and I'm going to read something from my phone, that's why I have it in my hands. After the World Cup ended just recently, I got this WhatsApp forward on my family WhatsApp group, like most of us do. Broadly, it says in Hindi, so just bear with me here. It says, और कुछ सीखा हो या ना सीखा हो, ये पता है कि फॉग चल रहा है, फ़ोन पे छोटी ट्रांजैक्शंस में पिन नहीं लगता, प्योर नमक में केमिकल्स नहीं है, और कमला पसंद सबको पसंद है. And it goes kind of like that. So it's a light-hearted commentary, but it kind of encapsulates a lot of what is being said over here, right? This is what people took away. So it's very, very clear that sports, streaming, advertising on sports does make a difference. And from where we are looking at things, especially what I do at Google, which is the programmatic part, is to kind of take the same goodness to a larger swath of advertisers. The dynamics of the business is that people who are investing in broadcasting these sports have invested very serious amounts of money to get those rights. So there has to be a way for them to make money. And therefore, there will be advertisers like Byju's and the peer set, which will advertise at pretty much the cream of the crop. But what we are trying to enable by technology is that even if you are a mithai shop owner who only has shops in Lucknow, Varanasi, and Noida, and you really want to spend on cricket, but so far it was impossible to do so, our technology is trying to make it accessible to you. And we're not doing, obviously, it alone. There are the Magnite team is here, and there are other SSP partners. Publishers are opening up to that same philosophy as well. So the flywheel is starting to move, and I think that at the core of it, this conviction that sports marketing associating with sports works is brilliant. Now, at least the way we see it, is how to take the goodness to more people at a price point that makes sense for them, and also at the head of the market. Eventually, we all know the environment that we are under, right? Every dollar has to count for something. And in fact, the bigger the outlays, sometimes the bigger the questions are on what did it really do for me. I bought a specific property, like an L band, for example, but you know what, I don't know what's really happening with it. So those questions are coming more frequently from the largest of advertisers. And for them, from a Google programmatic lens, we're trying to add a lot of measurability. So if you're spending a few $1 million on any live sports events, what did it really do for you from installs, conversions, traffic, brand lift, whatever have you, the regular metrics. So we're trying to add value both at the top end and the torso and tail. And all of it, of course, goes back to the publishers, which gives them the muscle to keep on investing in sports. And not just cricket. I mean, men's cricket, women's cricket, but also football, regional sports, and all of them need that kind of backing, right? So it's a beautiful system. It's kind of taking shape early years. CTV definitely, to your question, is by proxy considered the most premium. But I still think the meat of it still sits in mobile streaming because that's where the access usually is. And to a question that you asked, yeah, CTV usually equals premium. But over the next 2 years, with the cost of access dropping drastically, if a TV costs as much as a phone, then I don't know what is more premium, right? So we'll see how that pans out.
Okay. So I think this is a good thread, right? So Harish, probably the question here is, when you are planning for your advertisers, right? How are you helping them, really get the ROI out of sports? And then within that, how does CTV come into play? Probably on the planning part, if you can add more insights in more detailed way, that will be fantastic.
See, the planning philosophy doesn't change. I mean, and specifically, there is no different planning philosophy you need to use for CTV. That's because the core of your planning is to reach out to the audience who are relevant for your product or services, and look at and have a measurement in place. And it could be any screen. I mean, there could be a TV planner who's planning on TV or digital planner. Now, these days, we've done with TV and digital planners. That's because it's all integrated planning. So it's basically screen planning. So there is no different planning philosophy that's being used. And finally, you look at outcomes. It could be sports or it could be entertainment. What is the final business objective that you're trying to chase is what you look at it. It could be movement of certain top of mind recall funnels, or it could be you're trying to see what is the lower funnel movement, all of that. It is all about having measurement in place, and that's what we typically look for. And we keep, while planning is one aspect, we keep optimizing it to deliver that final objective what we are chasing. There could be a plus or minus in it, but we learn from it every day, and it's an evolving process. And as we move forward, yeah, we'll, to an extent, with all the data in place, we'll have some learning to kind of see how is it that we fine tune the planning process further. So objectives don't change.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I think the biggest hurdle is that analog and digital don't talk to each other right now, right? So how are you solving for that?
It doesn't, but I mean, there are certain metrics that we've kind of defined internally, and we've kind of worked on certain frameworks where we saying that, okay, certain amount of exposures, be it on any screen, is required to drive certain action, and that's how we kind of look at it. And yeah, obviously there is full funnel, a full measurement solution available in the linear space. In the digital space, you use all the data that's available and kind of correlate stuff around it. So there is no different, say, secret sauce to it. I mean, it's at the end of the day, you look at data and try and see how does the overall funnel move.
Yeah, in sports, particularly what happens is that a particular broadcaster is doing it both on digital and analog, or sometimes they are different as well.
See, the audience who are consuming on linear is very different than you might not find the similar audience on consuming on a CTV, or someone who's not sitting in front of TV is basically consuming it on the go, that is on their mobile. So the audience is very different, and every time you're looking at it you're looking at three different set of audiences. One who's not available in the linear ecosystem, one who's on the go, missing out on both the mediums. So that's how it kind of changes. So that's why every medium plays its own critical role, and that's where we try and see how do we kind of hedge our bets across all the three.
Okay, that's interesting. Atit, how do you look at it in terms of, because obviously sports marketing is expensive, right? The pricing can be high as compared to other genres, basically. And then within that, do you see the same expensiveness coming into connected TV as well? Is connected TV a big medium for you within sports? If you can take us through your planning process for it.
Yeah, so see, I have a slightly different point of view. See, I think about 4 or 5 years ago, similar type of setup, similar type of conversation. We used to all say that content is going to be the single largest driver. If there is good content, audience will come. And now there are multiple platforms. Yeah, so now, for example, today we have analog, we have mobile, we have CTV. Tomorrow, for example, it's not going to be possible, but all our cars have those touch screens. If you start showing content over there, you will be having people watching it. So what I'm trying to say is, it's the planning process is defined by the audience and not vice versa. Now you know for a fact that some numbers are available, there is enough and more, and being a tech setup, we have enough and more data which we believe more than the third-party data. Yeah. So there is enough and more evidence in-house to take a call that cohort 1, cohort 2, cohort 3 are available. This is your total addressable universe. They might be, it's like a Venn diagram. The intersection is very, very small, might be 5%, might be 7%, but you have a sort of 80-90% virgin territories which you need to target. Now it's up to you and your business and the amount of money you have in the bank. Whether you can do all three, whether you can do two, whether you can do a mix and match, that depends upon the business, the size, the shape, and more importantly, competition. But if you look at sports in general, at least my learning has been that if there is an advertiser, you hardly see competition. So during this period, this 1.5 months, or now you'll see the 2.5 months of IPL, the category leader more often than not is the largest advertiser of that category. And the broadcasters also create deal structures in such a way that the competition will get 60% or 70% or 40% of the sponsorship brand. Your top of mind recall difference becomes so huge. Your storm, spawned, aided, unaided, all the lead as well as the lag parameters will see a significant shift. So what happens is if you're consistent with this approach, from a planning perspective, over a 1-2 year period, the gap between you and your nearest competitor who's not on sports as much as you are will change significantly. But to do that, you need to have shitload of money in your bank account. If you don't have it, don't touch it. You can go back to Anupama, 1 star plus.
And just a follow-up question. This is very interesting. So like cricket is like made for because it has an amazing format where audiences are there, and then you have a change of over, but audiences are not going anywhere, and you don't have so many spots basically in between, right? So, is cricket? Obviously you've been doing cricket for a long time, and you would have built all your data on that as well, but that data would have been built on the linear TV more, right? Connected TV is a more of a recent phenomena. So if you can throw some light in terms of, one is which sports between all these, and obviously cricket is one of them. That is one question. And second question is, what are the data you have built on connected TV? Are you finding it as effective as linear TV? What are the differences? Would be interesting to know.
See, this connected TV phenomena is like 3-4 years old. So data is available, but see, how will I prove the hypothesis which you start with? A big event just got over. The next big event might be 6 months down the line. Now, using this data, you will make your decisions primarily on CTV. Now, linear TV, whether you are talking about the diary system to TAM to BARC, there is enough and more historical data available over a couple of decades. Industry has people who can throw out numbers without looking at BARC. Yeah, some of us are sitting in the audience. Yeah. As far as CTV is concerned, is as good as yesterday. So it will take some time, but it's also about conviction. And you also need to understand that what are you doing as a household? What is your friend circle doing as a household? What are your drivers and your mates doing as a household? And if you get that sample size and understand that what they are viewing, it's the leap of faith one takes. Till the time the data is proven to the level one is required, till that time you need to experiment. And if it works out, I personally believe that people who had put in the money for this World Cup, primarily on CTV, would have benefited significantly more relatively compared to linear. Because I think most of us were connected. And if I'm a slightly upmarket affluent brand, my throughput would have been better. But again, this is more from the gut and the sense I got by talking and watching the matches. But data should prove it that way too. That's what my sense is.
Okay, great. And cricket and other sports, what's your...
See, cricket is at the front seat, yeah. There is no position in break and all that thing. It's either first spot or last spot. Yeah, and it's very, very friendly. But if you look at it, other sports are also creating significant amount of value because the 45 minutes half which you talk about, or a 15-minute in a basketball which you talk about, that is uninterrupted. Yeah. And there are very few brands on ground. And if you are one of them, and if you're able to do the right thing, and again, it's all about consistency. No brand will benefit by just doing 1-2 matches here and there. It might just be a great thing to say, I'm also on cricket or I'm also on football. But if you're doing it consistently, non-cricket, it's more about not advertising, but it is partnership with the body, with the sports itself, and going inside the ground, inside the court, at the perimeter, at the stadiums, because that gets covered. And there are very few brands who can do it, who can afford it, because those many spots are available. You will not get more than 8 guys to be a ground sponsor, while there will be 137 advertisers on the World Cup. So that's the difference. So some pros, some cons, but there is an opportunity non-cricket too.
Great. Basically, from an agency perspective, the planning process, and then, analog and digital do not speak to each other.
All right, so I think that has changed to a large extent today. I think rightly mentioned that we have integrated planners, no more really looking at, it's more screen planning. I think those standard metrics continue. But within that dynamics, I think there is we are putting a lot of effort on CTV, to be very honest. I think some of the studies, I think a couple of them done with you as well, we saw that investments on CTV gave a double-digit 12 to 15% increase in branded awareness. I understand it's a very campaign-centric approach to look at measuring awareness, but CTV is working. And as an agency, we are taking cognizance of that. I think we are conscious. I think one of the most important parameters is that what traditionally was the traditional team and digital team, there is cross-training happening between both planners, increasingly not only to make them integrated, because see, even in CTV, right, within sports, there are different models of buying. Someone is selling on CPM, someone is selling on fixed, some are just asking you to buy spots. Now, understanding that dynamics and saying that, are we being effective? So definitely proprietary tools help. We plot reach graphs and just check, which medium is more effective, one against the other, and those will continue. Nothing has changed in the planning process. I think the skill sets, the people have changed within the agency. I think today the traditional guys who perhaps did a one-spot billing are today more aware of what an impression is, what is the duration, what is the cost for the inventory based on duration. A 10-seconder to a 30-seconder, there is a difference. But I think purely for them, someone gave a very interesting example. If you look at any famous celebrity, think of anyone. Let's take the example of Amitabh Bachchan. Look at Amitabh Bachchan on a mobile device. Look at him on a TV and look at him in a theater. The impact is different, right? So I think somewhere the impact of an advertisement will definitely come from the large format dominance. So I think it's a very good synergy between the power of large format that the TV brings and the measurability of digital. I think a very good synergy to make people change within the organization so that the brands benefit as a result of that.
Yes. So I think from an advertiser perspective, would love to understand what is the effectiveness of connected TV you are seeing in sports. And I think Atit gave us some very interesting insights around cricket especially and overall sports as well. So it's obviously an upcoming medium, and I think CTV or connected TV, as Pratik was also saying, will scale further. Prices will go down, and it will probably become the more dominant channel across the years, basically. So how are you planning for it from a sports perspective?
See, I have realized one thing. Cricket, as Atit said, cricket, if you have to be there, you have to be big, or you have to switch to Anupama. Also, it's a function of the surface. So on a mobile screen, this is all advertisers know, there is something known as ad avoidance. You're just staring at the screen, things are passing, and you never recognize what you have seen. Okay, and that's the biggest thing that we have to tackle, because as cricket has become so popular, there are multiple entry points. People are putting in small money. We saw during this Cricket World Cup that Hotstar had rolled out a special package for smaller players in the market. They had very nominal fees and they had selected presence. The thing is that I saw, not to mention appliance brand, they were advertising heavily on World Cup, and the branding was very poor. So it was like they were advertising a category. And I ended up watching that and I said, where is the difference? Kamla Pasan, Vimal, all look same. So I think for us, the challenge is now not utilizing sports. It's more about how to be distinctive with that kind of sport. If you have if you build correlation with cricket and you create a edit which is salient with what you are showing on, I think that has more farther impact. Again, with advent of connected TV, it's a family viewing space with selection, with different ways of seeing. I think this time around, both the platforms who broadcast cricket had different, there was a Max Vision, during FIFA there was something else. So they're giving different views. And when you advertise, you have to just leverage these points, create an advertisement or create an edit which is suitable for that platform. I'm looking more at as a creative input of how you connect with your consumers, a better way to get into it. Of course, money matters, but I think that is more, we have to get our act right before we even invest in something like a mega event. And I think all advertisers, sooner or later, even FMCGs who have this whole they have, I think, so chests of money to offer to on the sports events. They also thinking separately what I should do on a cricket match, what I should do when there is a FIFA World Cup, what should I do if I'm investing in Pro Kabaddi League. So the surface changes the way advertisers think, and also it is a function of investment, but that same investment will give you higher ROI or higher recall for that matter. And also this format, when you look at the format, there are new playgrounds that can be discovered. So with growing, I think Google will come with a playbook soon on how to advertise on CTV again, because they had something when advertisers just getting on mobile advertising back in 2013-14, YouTube had come through and they had a playbook of how advertisers do. And I think there's a lot of scope for connected TV, sports, and advertisers to innovate on this particular surface.
So VIP has brands for both men and women and gender neutral as well, right? So how do you see sports, connected TV? Is it like, how do you see the gender dynamics from your perspective?
See, for us, travel is gender agnostic. We have cohorts where we focus on solo travelers. We have cohorts where are female travelers. All of that is even family. It's a different experience. With CTV, the entry point for creating multiple creatives and just showing them, just because there is a different flavor to it, is possible. Okay, but you have to understand one thing. TV still is if you ask me, the ownership still will be one for family. Okay, so whenever I look at a CTV campaign, I would always go family out or a product out strategy, not look at say I'm advertising only to men or women. It will be a travel commercial and will not be a specific gender commercial.
Got it. Okay. Pratik, you have talked about measurement side as well, and Suyash was talking about a playbook. So how do you see from a planning perspective how Google will approach this, or how do you think about it?
So it's funny he said mobile just before this, because there was this phrase called the mobile internet, and which all of us use in these events for like almost half a decade. We don't say that anymore. We just say internet, right? It's going to happen to TV as well. This term connected TV is being called out because it's new. The way the depth is increasing, access is improving, over the next 2-3 years, it's fairly possible that we will just call it TV, and the planning principles will definitely catch up, and the larger agencies definitely have been doing cross-screen planning for some time. So I have a lot of confidence in the ecosystem that they will crack it really well. What I think technology does add, why connected TV becomes special, whether it's sports, whether it's VOD, is the additional attribution availability that comes through that. Right? So today we know, for example, to your point, that we have Kanta reports and all of those things, that CTV viewership is very, very family oriented right now. Anything which is individual in nature is being seen on phones. And that trend probably will not change. But maybe over the next 2-3 years, when India becomes a multi-TV household country, maybe it will evolve. The next 2-3 years, I think this is how it's going to be. And I'm sure there will be playbooks that will come out. Will come out from YouTube. But more importantly, they'll come out, I think, from the other large OTT platforms as well, because now the reach is getting fairly comparable, right? So the last claims that YouTube has were about 60 million co-viewers of CTV. I think JioCinema Entertainment had some 50 million number not too long ago, and these numbers are only going to increase. So
sorry, how do you define it in terms of households?
So households, the good one. So broadly, the numbers that we work with is that 200 million TV households. 25 million, I think, was the last declared number on YouTube, must be higher now. So we are at a country level, we probably are at 10% depth. Mature markets are at a more 30-40% depth, so they basically, or maybe even higher, depending on which market you're in. So there is no real benchmarking of this. It's coming from reading multiple reports.
Like 10 to 15%.
Yeah, so as that ratio improves, number of connected TV to total TV households increases, these things will naturally follow. And I think the agencies are doing a fairly good job of kind of staying ahead of that, doing cross-screen planning. What's the missing piece here is measurement, because you've changed the device, you've changed access. But if you really want to know that if somebody saw my ad, did not do anything then, but then, apart from brand recall, went and downloaded my app or bought my service, That has been sort of a missing step. And that's exactly the bridge that I think tech, whether it comes from Google or anybody else, preferably from Google, will fill the gap quite rapidly. And we're already seeing that. It's much more easier in mobile, harder in CTV. But that's exactly the reason why, hopefully, over the next 2-3 years, you will not need necessarily big bucks only to be on sports. That, of course, will get you the best seat in the house. But if you are a sports company who is linked with, say, Rahul Dravid, and you want to really advertise only when he's playing in Bangalore, you should be able to do that. Because remember that a large bulk of India is still MSME, family-run businesses, where this is very, very important, that your ads are seen by your peers, by people who you care about, by your distributors. So it has a role to play. And that's the world that we want to see happen over the next few years.
Okay, great. I think time is up, but very, very interesting topic and some fantastic insights. And I think amazing, really the knowledge base here among all of you. So thanks a lot for that.